to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item is to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a motion to do so?
I move.
Mr. Moves, second. Mr. Seconds. Discussion. Ms. Dixon. Roll call.
Mr. Rainier.
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock.
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm.
Yes.
Mrs. Young. Mr. Sharp.
Yes. Second item is a consent agenda, which includes accepting minutes from the previous meeting, approve the substitute teacher list as presented by the Pickaway County ESC. There was no Fairfield County ESC list for February. And accept donations, Jimmy Miller, 153 from 50-50 raffle basketball game that was returned. Jackie Bailey, $55, same thing. Dick Bowers, $500 for an FFA Memorial account, and Treva Conrad, $100 also returned, donated back to the 50 receipts from the boys basketball game. Is there a motion? Robin moves.
Second.
6 seconds. Discussion.
The minutes that were provided are from January 10th, January 24th, January 26th, and January 27th. Did everybody receive those okay? Okay. And also the Jimmy Miller $153 donation, that is a duplicate. That was on last month's agenda. So I have it marked duplicate. It's okay, you accept it again. I just want to make sure that it's not recorded twice.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Psalm.
Yes.
Mrs. Young.
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock.
Yes.
Mr. Rainier.
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes. Obviously, thank you to those who donated money. It's always appreciated.
One or two times.
Yeah, 1 or 2 times. Exactly. On to public participation. You guys?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sarah Sharp, and I'm here on behalf of the ACFFA chapter. I'm just going to give you a brief update on our past, present, and upcoming events. So since our last update, we had our new officer candidates filled out their applications. Our public speakers competed in the Drop the Mic Speaking Invitational Finals. Haley Robinson placed 3rd in the Creed Speaking. Lily Dennis placed 7th in Beginning Prepared Speaking. Hannah Son placed 1st in Extemporaneous Speaking, and I placed 2nd in Senior Prepared Speaking. And then those public speakers actually just competed at the county contest at Liberty Union tonight. So hopefully we'll have results from that soon. Our AgCom and AgSales CDE teams took their state online exams, and we held our January monthly meeting, which was our degree ceremony for our Green Hand and chapter degree recipients. And we also held our monthly Ag Breakfast. Our upcoming events, our Ag Breakfast is on February 11th. Officer candidate interviews are on February 10th. Our state AgCom CDE is on February 12th. Our February monthly meeting is February 14th, which will be our installation of our new officers. And then our District 7 Ag Sales and Public Speaking are February 16th. And our Top Fall fundraiser trip is February 18th through 20th. So this is officially my last report as chapter president. So I'd like to thank you all for all of your support for myself personally and for our chapter. It's definitely made my career in the FFA better. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, my name is Emily Buckley, and I am here on behalf of the student body. So first, girls basketball finished up their regular season this Monday against Logan Elm. They ended with a record of 14-8, and they play Fredericktown on February 19th at 1 p.m. at home for their first tournament game. Boys basketball is also nearing the end of their season. They played Bloom Carroll tonight and Logan Elm on Friday for their senior night. And they will travel to Johnstown on February 26th at 7 p.m. for their first tournament game. The wrestling team hosts Logan Elm next Wednesday, the 16th, for their senior night and the last meet of the season, and seniors will be announced at 5:30. Some upcoming events: juniors and seniors will be taking the ACT on March 1st here at the school. ACHS Hope Squad is hosting a Hope Week next week, the 14th through the 17th. Each day will have a Spirit Week to help booster hope around the school. And at the end of the week, the winner of the raffle ticket will have a pie in the face for a chosen teacher. Prom committee has been meeting and planning for the prom. We've been going over decorations and things like that. Prom has officially been set for May 7th at Blystone Farms. National Honor Society just finished up selling their strawberries for their annual fundraiser, and applications for NHS were due last Friday, so the induction ceremony will take place on March 23rd. The band is preparing and practicing for their concert on March 15th, and we have a special guest conductor, Lisa Galvin, who will be coming in and working with the band on February 24th to go over a couple of her pieces that the band will be playing for their concert. And their last pep band game will be this Friday. Academic Challenge has also begun competitions. Currently, they are 2-1 and are continuing to practice for their next competition. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Another public participation. So, old business. First item is to approve a change to policy JB, no contact period for athletics, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities.
That is attachment 3.
What page number is that on? Oh, I found it, page 12.
Mrs. Young brought up something, question about the, obviously, since we're in the process of reading this and we can make the changes, we don't approve it, we can bring it back, I think. But Mrs. Young's question was, if we started on a Saturday, when does that 2-week period end? And to me, if we do a 14-day period, it ends on Friday, which means your activity can start on the 3rd Saturday of July. And we would spell that out in this, because sometimes people think 2 weeks would be 2 full weeks and the Saturday would be your last day. Now, I do believe this is important because it does affect some of the FFA activities on that Saturday. So we would stop it on Friday and then we would spell that out clearly in the policy.
So does that cover the FFA camp that they normally go to then?
When Mr. Hinton and I met with Mr. Sharp and Mr. Tilley, I believe they said that would be the Saturday they would go. So
That would be
how I
the
understood
Saturday
it.
they would go?
I thought it was the Monday through, I always thought it was the
You're right. It's the
second Monday of July, so it would never hit that.
Yes.
It won't
It would be over, the dead period would be over before that got to that, before that camp started. It's always that second Monday of July, so it would not, they wouldn't conflict. However, I don't think I'm saying it right, but it would not affect that at all.
Okay,
That
because I
makes
know they
sense.
were picking that camp
Yes.
because some of their athletes would be the only time they could go to FFA camp because they were,
Well, they also, they have a good partnership with Cardington. And
yes,
Cardington goes to that camp,
yes.
so that's a big reason why they like to go. So
So
it
it
won't, it
does
will not
not-
conflict with each other.
It is not conflict with FFA. I'm not going to get a call tomorrow.
I don't,
Okay,
from what I understand.
What we were told when we met with them.
okay.
Are there any other suggestions or changes that we need to bring back to you at the next meeting, other than what we'll add about starting on the last Saturday in June and ending on the first or second Friday in July?
And that won't start this summer,
No.
it'll start next
Yeah,
summer,
exactly.
the summer of 23,
Yes.
right? Okay, gotcha.
Are you gonna put that language in there then? too?
Yes.
Beginning, okay.
Mr. Dick, can I add into that? I was in the room when Mr. Pata spoke to the athletic council and brought up if they feel like it should be done away with. I was shocked, and so was Mr. Pata, it was almost unanimous of how much they appreciate the dead period. The athletes on the athletic council. I was very
Oh, yeah.
surprised that it was almost unanimous of how to do that. So it kind of changed. I would not have thought of that. So it's good that we asked that question to the athletic council. So just throw that in there in terms of the dead period.
I always likened it to the drug test. It gives athletes a reason to say no, if they're pressured. And I think it gives athletes 2 weeks that they know they don't have to worry about anything, whether coaches realize or advisors, whatever. It's like a safe haven that they know they have these 2 weeks. So if it's okay, I can bring us back to you and.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So we'll
So
consider this a second reading? Is that what
Yes,
you're
Yes,
saying?
we
Okay.
have to do a
That's
vote
minutes.
then. Next meeting.
Yes.
All right, there is no other old business, so treasury report.
Okay. We have- Robin, I don't have any idea what page it was on. Where it
Is
starts.
this the one you
Towards the
sent
back.
separately?
Yes, I sent it to you separately, so all your pages would be
The
facing up,
financial packet, January 2022?
that way you can see them. General fund revenues for January were $3,031,048. The reason those are so high is we did get income tax, which is tracking higher than what we even forecasted. And also, they did a catch-up payment for the foundation or for the state payment. So we got all of that, and that was a little over $1 million there. And then also we received our casino earnings, which were just about where we thought they would be. They were a little bit higher, but they were pretty much on track. So overall, from last January, it's about $1.4 million, $1.45 million more for those reasons. The expenditures were $1,888,160, and total checks written were $1,927,000. We're basically up about $242,000, which is approximately what the salaries and benefits have been running, so nothing special there. We did have a transfer in and out, and I only mention this because it makes the financial statement look funny. The month before, I had asked for approval to transfer funds to pay the lease payment, which is another cash account, and then also to put money into the PI fund because we have no other sources of revenue for that. So I made those transfers in January. And so even though it doesn't change anything, it just moves it from fund to fund. It'll make the general fund, which is what I do my report based on, is a general fund. It makes it look a little different. So I wanted to point that out so we can look at that on this report. So the board 5-year report, so there were some questions about it. I wanted to go over it, and then I also want to go over the cash reconciliation a little better than what we normally do. So if you turn to the page after the verbiage for my financial summary is, the next page is what you guys call your board 5-year report. And it's basically 5 years of general fund, and it's only general funds, as it's kind of divided based off the old state support payment. Because it has the historical data, I'd like to add some things. So if you notice, in probably 10 lines down, it says foundation program, $1.5 million. And then if you go a little further down, where it says other state, $149,000. Obviously, those are two big changes. The new foundation program has a lot of restricted funds. If you're in the curriculum council meeting earlier, Ms. Pinkstock talked about gifted funding. We now have a line item in the support we receive from the state for gifted funding, and it's a restricted fund, which means that we have to spend it on gifted testing supplies, education, things like that. So this report, I'll probably do some renditions over the next few months and see what works for you guys to see. I'll have to expand some things because it's what used to be on one line for you is now 10 lines. It's not going to match up, so you won't have anything to balance it against to look and see where the differences are if I just make it new. So we'll do some renditions of this to get it to where you guys can understand what it looks like versus last year to this year. So if there's any questions arise, whether it be an expenditure or revenue source, we can get those answered and it makes sense. So
I have a question.
Yes.
So if we look at the last 5 years on the beginning cash balance, we would have gotten our income tax a full year of it in the year of 2021, right?
No.
We passed it in 2019. And 2020 would have been the ramp up, right?
So
We have a lot more than I thought we would have
collections.
on beginning cash balance.
So which one are you? So you're talking at the very top.
Why is that?
So high.
Yes.
So income tax is tracking higher. We did not have a full year of collections. Last year in January, we only received $600,000. And this
Okay.
year we received almost $1 million or a little over $1 million. How much? 961,000. So,
How come, why the difference in the two Januaries?
so it's paid quarterly.
Right,
So because they started the collections, but the way income tax works, it takes a while before everybody starts.
so it's like a ramp up.
It's like the ramp up. So,
So then is this January our first full January payment?
yes, it is.
Full ramp up,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
First full quarter, right?
Yes. No, it's the first full January payment. So we received what we would consider a full payment the quarter before too. That makes sense. So October,
Yeah, yeah.
we received a full, what we would consider a full payment. So employers have to withhold school district tax.
Right,
Not all employers pick up on it immediately,
right.
and that's why it takes a while before the collection
Yeah.
starts. So you always,
No, I knew.
you always
there was a
collect the
ramp
full
up.
amount, it
I
just
just
kind of
thought it would be
rolls in a
last
little
year.
slower, so. It's rolled in a lot faster what was anticipated too, so that's a good thing. But that's a good question for sure. So this kind of looks like what the kind of forecast looks like. So if you notice, probably 10 lines up from the bottom, it says excess revenue over expenditures. That's the over underline, and that's kind of what I usually talk about month to month is, did we have more revenue than we had expenditures? On months that we don't have income from property tax or income tax, typically that number is negative. And even last year, we didn't receive enough money in income tax to cover, we were still below our revenue source for our expenses exceeded. But, so I usually highlight that and that kind of, but this month for February, we have property tax coming in. So as everybody knows, they got their property tax bills. A lot of people commented that it's slightly less. That's because the bond issue fell off. They're not collecting on the bond anymore. So everybody's property taxes should went down ever so slightly. But it is a year for valuations. So I'll say that really quietly. Okay, so going back then to the cash reconciliation. So if you want to get back 4 or 5 pages, 5 pages, 6 pages, I want to go over the cash reconciliation, and I still give you both of them. The first one is in the packet, is what comes out of redesign. The second one's the old one. I know I can stop doing it, but I just like to show you it's the same thing. It lists every penny that we have and where it is. So this tells us all of our accounts, whether they're investment accounts, whether they're CDs, whether they're a depository account. So in Kingston National Bank, checking, this is our operating account. So this is where all money comes in and out of. If we transfer it or move it or whatever, it all comes into the operating accounts where we pay payroll out of. Well, kind of. But that's at $4 million. In the Fifth Third money market account, which is considered a depository, we have $126,000. That account was there when I got here last November. So I don't know how old that account is. It's pretty old. It's been there for quite a while. And then we have the Key Bank account, which is an escrow account. That account is the money that we borrowed. And that's the amount of money that's in the account right now that, because we didn't do the band room project as anticipated, that's what's left. So we will have an item on the agenda later this evening that we can maybe talk about that a little bit. Outstanding checks. So these are checks that have been written but we've not been able to reconcile, is $179,000. Cash in transit to bank could be Auditor, is things that we really can't, we can account for because we have an amount there. But it could be Auditor pay, which is what we use to pay officials. It could be credit cards where we haven't, they haven't batched out that amount yet, but we have it accounted for. Then you come down to our investment account. So we have the Kingston National Bank ICS account, which has $9 million in it, which is why I said in the email that we have about $13 million in Kingston National Bank, which that's basically what we carry. I think when I came in, we had about 11. That'll probably go down because the checking account will fluctuate with revenues coming in and expenses going out, obviously.
What does ICS stand for?
That's the only thing. I don't know. I can look it up though. What it is though, so you understand what the account is, it's a lot of syllables. It is, so Kingston, we put money into Kingston. Kingston then goes out, because we have an FDIC limit of $250,000, banks have for depository have a couple options. They can do what's called a pooled collateral through the state of Ohio, which obviously the banks have to pay for that to cover those amounts, because we as a government entity have to have that insurance on that money. We can't risk that money. So FDIC limits kind of mean a lot to us. So we either have to have an insurance, which I call that pooled collateral and insurance. There is also private insurance they can buy to cover those amounts above, or they can do something like what Kingston does, which they divide the money up then and put it in multiple banks. So our money is actually in different banks pretty much across the country and across the world.
Not different Kingston banks, just different banks.
Different banks, anywhere from Chase to, I can bring the statement, there's probably 30 banks, but they're all at 249.9, or they're all at right at 250. So they don't, even with interest, they're not going to go over that $250,000 mark. So they keep it, and then they constantly balance those, because as that money gains interest, they balance it to make sure we're not going over the 250. So the next item, so that's how the ICS works. The Red Tree Investments, that is the custodian of those funds is at Huntington, but those are in, and I brought that as well, they're commercial paper, which is schools and government entities are only allowed to invest in very, very, very low risk, I'll call them securities, like a CD, like a bank account, like a bond. So with Red Tree, we're able to do, a lot of times, depending on the state of the economy, right now the economy is a little crazy because we have some inflation going on, the interest rate's gonna go up a little bit, but the interest rates have been so low, most of what we can purchase as an investment is based on those interest rates. So when the interest rates are low, typically we're not gonna do so well. The commercial paper is something that rates companies, so we can purchase those, but it's very, very low risk. They do okay. They usually do a little better than some bond rates, but not much, but usually it's best we can do. There are limits though, without getting into too much detail. Once you get out of a traditional bank account or something like that, there are limits of what we can invest. So there's a percentage of total amount we have available that we're allowed to put in different things. So Red Tree, what Red Tree does for us is balances that. They make sure that we don't have any conflicting CDs. So for example, if I had a CD at Fifth Third, which we have these CDs down here, or Fifth Third has made another investment, Red Tree makes sure that we don't have another CD somewhere else that's going to conflict, or we're going to be over the 250,000 FDIC limit. So banks move their money and they do different things, and it takes somebody to look at all of it and go, okay, I know for sure they're compliant with all of the laws that we need to be compliant with. We also have a municipal bond with Red Tree, which I think is interesting. So Bowling Green's City School District sold bonds to probably build a building, and we purchased some of their bonds because they're A+ rated, safe bonds to buy.
So it's like a CDO, collateralized debt obligation?
No, it's not like that. It's more like a regular bond. So like when we bought bonds to build this building, we sold those bonds. So maybe other school districts, cities,
Bowling Green.
yeah, Bowling Green could have bought our bonds. But typically other government entities are good debt. So when Mike Burns came in and was talking about when we did the lease purchase and why the interest rates are so much better for government entities, because it's good debt. We're not going to default. So that's why we're able to do that as well. So the next is Fifth Third, and then we have these CDs with Fifth Third and when they mature. I'm going to add, I was unable to get into these stats for last day. I'm going to add the interest rates for each of the CDs to the cash reconciliation. So on this, you'll be able to see what interest rate we're getting. Those are non-variable. We have a variable rate for the checking of the money market. The lease purchase, I don't think that's variable rate. I think that's a fixed rate. And then the ICS account also is a variable rate.
And ICS stands for Insured Cash Sweep.
Well, there you go. Insured cash sweep.
Thank you.
Insured what?
Cash sweep.
Sweep, as in a sweep account.
Oh,
So they sweep the money out of Kingston and then they put it into other
Runs
accounts.
through,
But,
typically daily, it wouldn't be a sweep account.
and they continue to balance that. So then to finish up without going into huge detail, at the bottom where it says 16,373,000, that is the total of all of our balances. The next line, total fund balance, that is the balance of the cash summary report that I give you each month. So, and because it's automatically generated in USAS, that number is pulled into this form to make sure that it matches. So it says that everything that we have up here in the bank matches everything that I give you in that cash summary report, so you know in what fund we have each one. Does that make sense? And that's why it's called a reconciliation, because this is what we actually go through to make sure that we have every penny that we thought we would have. The only other thing, do you guys have any questions about I brought some extra detail about what investments we're allowed to make and things if you wanted to go in depth that far, but I know this is gonna be a long night, so I don't want to drone on. Good, okay. Sorry. I'm done, yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve financial reports. Susan moves.
I'll second.
Justin seconds, any discussion? Appreciate the detail.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Leave it blank.
Roll call.
Mrs. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Rainier,
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm,
yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock, Mr. Sharp.
Yes. Superintendent report.
All right, I would like to recommend we approve the following certificated contracts for the 21-22 school year. K-12 intervention specialist Amanda Ward, K-2 reading tutors Bethany Heron and Diane Miller.
Robert moves, is there a second?
Second.
Susan seconds, discussion. The K-12 intervention specialist is the replaces the person who resigned in January. The tutors are what we approved to do at the K-2 to try to close some gaps.
Roll call.
Mrs. Psalm,
Yes.
Mrs. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Rainier,
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock,
Yes.
Mr. Sharp.
Yes.
I would like to recommend we approve the supplemental contract for 21-22 spring game managers Tim Weiss and Daniel Fox, high school girls spring track coach Brooke Marshall, high school boys track coach David Barnett, and then the board has offered the position of middle school boys baseball coach for both 7th and 8th grade. For those employees of the district who have been licensed and no such employee qualified for those positions accepted. Further, the positions were advertised as available to any individual with a license who is qualified to fill them as not employed by the board. That I would like to recommend middle school boys 7th grade baseball coach Martin Francis, and middle school boys 8th grade coach Peyton Madison. And I would like to recommend for the 22-23, you want to make a separate motion? Or keep going?
I just keep going.
Okay. Approve supplemental contract for 22-23. Varsity football coach Steve Dalton, girls soccer coach Bailey Harrow, cross country coach Kyle Wright, varsity cheerleading advisor Shannon Osborne, reserve cheerleading advisor Shannon Osborne, golf coach James Justice, game manager Tim Weiss and James Justice, middle school volleyball coach Abby Galt. The board has offered the position, the 22-23 school year positions of head boys soccer coach, head volleyball coach, middle school football, 8th grade, assistant middle school football, 7th grade, and middle school volleyball, 8th grade. To those employees of the district who have been licensed and no such employee qualified for the positions, accepted them. Further, the positions were advertised as available to any individual with a license who is qualified to fill them and is not employed by the district, by the board. Head soccer coach Jeff Schubert, varsity volleyball coach Jody Good, middle school football coach Justin Cassidy, middle school football coach Ken Hinton, middle school volleyball coach Stephanie Sowers.
Okay. Is there a motion? Mr. Booth, is there a second?
Second.
Seconds, discussion.
I don't know if you remember, we set up a timeline of our coaches being hired, and Mrs. Ponus keeps us on track with those, and this have fall coaches hired in February does help us. I mean, in so many ways to have that in place. So what we did approve to do is working. So.
I think it's nice with Peyton Madison. I assume that's the one who just graduated
It is.
a few years back, so I think it's kind of neat to see a young
Yep.
alum coming back and pushing hard. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mrs. Young? Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Approve volunteers for 21-22 baseball, Justin Cassidy, classroom, Addison Eisenhower, Quentin Lott, Alexis Peters, Heather Reed, Faith Grower, for wrestling, Tom Chapin, record 124, primary school reading tutor, Diane Miller, and our baseball tutor, to be hired as a tutor, which we did tonight.
Is there a motion? Robin moves. Is there a second? Susan seconds. Discussion?
I can say this as I'm going out the door. I wish we could track our volunteer hours. I think it's amazing about how many hours our people get. So it might be something we want to look at to consider as I think about it. So I do appreciate all that they do for us.
Any other discussion? Echo your thanks to volunteers as we always do. Roll call.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Number 4, I'd like to recommend we approve the school psychologist evaluation form. And Mr. Sharp, I do not know if we need to do this or how we do this. On attachment 4, there's a duplicate in relationship read.
Yes, I saw
Mrs. Young brought it to my attention. So do we want to either just make that adjustment, or do we want to vote to have it taken out and then?
We can say as amended, right?
Okay.
So this is evaluating the school psychologist.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we just hired the school psychologist for this year for the first time. So we did not have an evaluation tool. So this is what we're going to use.
And where did we get this?
The Fairfield County ESC, which was where we had our school psychologist. come from.
Is there a motion to accept, or I guess a motion to accept that evaluation form as amended with the duplicate items taken out of the relationship? Susan seconds, discussion. All right, roll call.
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
I would like to recommend we approve a change to the 2021-2022 calendar for Professional Development Day on April 20th for all PK5 teachers. Meaning there will be no school for students in grades PK through 5, and grades 6 through 12 will be in session.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Susan seconds, discussion.
One of the discussions we had during curriculum council was that our new math program feels it's very important to have 2 consecutive days of PD. This fits into our spring break, so it extends it for our PK5 students.
Does that put a burden on the parents that have kids in the lower grades? But
I'm sure it does, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to do it now, to make sure that we can, it's going to be in the newsletter Friday, the first time. I talked with Crowd Communications to make sure that we communicate it often, and our principal make sure it gets put out often, so.
and the older higher grade teachers aren't jealous, upset, for having the more PD,
Well, I'm gonna,
whether it's for math or not, they're still getting an extra PD. I know some of them really value that.
and I'm sure that they would tell you that this is going to be the first minimum I've heard it. Because I'm not trying to be flippant, but I didn't ask. Because I know how important it is. This is one of the only times we had the opportunity. And I'll be honest with some, no, I have not heard any, I have not heard any pushback. One of the things that, when we make this math change, I mean, you know how volatile the Eureka conversation has been for years. I made a comment in the curriculum council, and I'll repeat it again. We're going to do everything we can to take away any excuses for bridges not working next fall. We wanted to have the teachers have opportunity for the PD. They will then have the material in hand, if they want to work on it throughout the last week of school, they'll have it all summer to create units and all they want to do. So I think it's a great plan, curricular-wise, for
I think it's a great plan because you read the math was released with no PD hardly, and teachers didn't know what to do, parents didn't know what to do, no one knew what to do.
we're trying to
I'm
eliminate
just
that.
questioning whether or not the 612 needs that as a PD day as well.
Well, I would tell you,
Maybe
no,
not for math,
no,
but-
I understand what you're saying. And when we had this discussion, Mr. Hinton was very quick to talk about the fact that it's like for our AP teachers, to take that day away from them one day before, or, a short period of time before they're going to be doing their AP exams,
Gotcha.
it's,
It's not good timing.
exactly, it wasn't a good timing to take care of it then.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Pinkstone?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Neer?
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
I'd like to recommend approve membership into the 22-23 Ohio High School Athletic Association. Membership dues will consist of $50 per sport for high school and no fees or dues for middle school sports.
Is there a motion?
I'll move.
I'll move. Second? 2 seconds. Discussion?
It's one of those things that we must participate in order for our kids to be permitted to be in tournaments. So
I thought they would. Did we not have that discussion? I thought they would, because I thought it odd that they only did it for 1 year.
wait a minute.
Because
I
they,
think I remember, I thought I remember it going back to no charge as well. We said, something about how they probably, yeah.
we talked about it in the meeting. That's what
Yeah.
it was when we were doing the agenda. Because I'm
But,
like, well, that
I mean-
seems pointless, but then they had,
They actually changed.
exactly, that's why.
I don't see it on here. And again, if there's no, still approve it, and if there's no charge, there's no charge. So.
Sure.
Absolutely. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
you have a PO in
And I,
place.
and I think I remember them talking about, it was a 1-year deal and they had their extra football tournament games, so that allowed them to make up some of the loss that they had in 2021.
Right.
Sorry.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstone?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
I would like to recommend we approve a 3-year administrative contract for high school principal Scott Hinton.
Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Robert moves. 2 seconds. Discussion?
Just so you know, he's the only one up for administrative contract this year, so I think you're him.
Other discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstone?
Yes.
And Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
Legislative liaison report, Mr. Rainier.
Well, I don't have anything for this meeting, but I do have information coming.
Okay.
So I can email that out as soon as it gets here, but I actually am getting a subscription
Okay.
that will basically give me an update. It won't be a Brandon Kern level update, but I'll do my finest and hopefully won't let you down.
But, curriculum, you want to give that, Mrs. Pickstock, or one of you two want to give that?
I took notes, but you can probably explain everything better.
It doesn't matter to me.
We'll just put in the notes that Mrs. Pinkstock gave, and we'll let her know which one you gave.
So we started out the discussion with the second 9-week short cycle assessments for high school. Mr. Hinton shared that the averages that from the data that he collected is spot on from the first 9 weeks. The department heads have that data. They're going to analyze and discuss it during their department head team meetings with the teachers. And then middle school will be bringing that data the next time. They have the data right now, the teachers do. They're analyzing and breaking it into subgroups. So they spent a whole 2-hour delay analyzing that data as well. So really good things are coming with that and driving our decision making. As Mr. Dick just kind of talked about, we are adopting bridges in mathematics for our K-5 math program. The committee is very excited about it. I think the teachers are really gonna love it. It allows the students to explore math and discuss math a lot more than I think that we've had recently. It ties right into with our PD that we did, our impact math and number talks. So I think we're really excited about it, actually. And just like Mr. Dick said, that April 19th and 20th, I do appreciate that you guys approved that, because the 2 consecutive PD days, the teachers are super excited to be able to get their hands on the material, to learn the program, get some ideas, and even start implementing some of the different lessons at the end of this year to prepare for next year. And them having it over the summer to plan is invaluable. So it is truly needed. Any questions about that so far? Third thing, we talked about the new dyslexia requirements that are coming out, the law. It is unfunded mandate, but, and it's going to require teachers to get 18 hours of professional development, which is going to, impact our teachers considerably. We will have to screen our, next year, we'll screen all K-3 our students, and flag them for at risk. And then if they are at risk, we would have to provide intervention for them, and monitor and progress monitor for 6 weeks. And then, I think the requirements definitely are going to allow us to know our kids, what they can, their strengths and weaknesses, and we can provide intervention to help them. But I think there's a lot to this. The PD that our teachers will need has to be provided by a certified specialist. So we can't just go grab any PD. It would have to be, just like our gifted requirements, has to be by a gifted specialist. So the ESC did say that they're going to provide some of that professional development for us, but it'll be some of the time next year that to our delays and our in-service days will have to be spent getting our teachers trained for what's coming ahead. I think other than that, it will be after next year. It will be only kindergarten will have to be screened, and grades 1 through 6 would be upon teacher and parent request. So other than that, we do have to form a committee that will analyze and come up with some of these requirements, such as the screening tool, when we're going to analyze the data, and then that data has to be reported to ODE. And then I think Mrs. Fraley just touched upon the fact that we had approved Foundations as a program that we were using this year, and it does directly align with that dyslexia legislation. So the PD that we're providing with Foundations, those teachers will have some hours already, because that's going to fall right in directly with the Science of Reading. It's a program that is validated. And then our discussion ended with middle school and high school talking about their master schedule, and about the fact that they're going to go to 4 blocks, and the value that's going to be, or the benefit that is going to be for both middle school and high school. Mr. Hinton went through a lot of different things that will allow more courses, more AP courses, more electives, smaller class sizes, and middle school talked about 2 big changes for them will be that math and ELA will happen every day for 75 minutes, which is different than this year. And then also for middle school, they'll be able to have a daily intervention period in which they'll really focus on, working with the skill deficits for our students. We did have a tiny bit of discussion about, I think, is it Bill 529? Is that House Bill 529? That just kind of some discussion that's going on right now with the fact that if it passes, teachers will have to post by July the entire year's lesson plans, activities, and assignments. And assessments. Before the year begins. And we talked about how I'll use the word detrimental that would be for our students, in my opinion, and how difficult that would be for any teacher to do. So we're going to kind of watch what happens with that, but
I can only assume it will be in Mr. Lanier's legislative report.
Yeah,
You'll
well,
probably hear,
I'm keenly aware, or not aware, but interested, I should say, not aware, but interested in that. I can't imagine, I mean, what's the benefit, or what would be even the driving factor?
I
That's hard
really,
to-
the
that's
big
really hard to
discussion that we
comprehend.
had is the fact that every research-based information out there states that we should be differentiating our instruction, which would require us to pre-test a student, find out if they know what they know
Right.
what they need to know, and if they do, then you move on, or if they don't, you slow down. So putting out lesson plans for the entire year and having to follow that rigid thing, that would just be detrimental, in my opinion. So I can't imagine it would pass, but Mr. Dick said there are states, I guess, that have passed it.
Indiana has
Crazy.
And I don't think that it's not really a bill yet.
No.
It's just a proposal,
Proposal.
something like that. I mean, so.
So that's it.
Student achievement report.
That's a mistake.
You may not, I submitted your email address to Kim Miller Smith, but I don't know if she got it before she sends out the emails about it, so. But what I will say, one thing that I know I've kind of talked about this in the past, but one thing that I feel would be worth looking into is some kind of an app for our school. I had a chance when I know Mr. Sharp and I had a class here a few weeks back, and there's a couple different schools around here that do. I know we talked about it a couple times, but I didn't know if we had one kind of picked out or on radar or anything.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that. I'm meeting with Auditor, which is the company you had recommended to contact me. They're a webpage app group. I have contacted Circle Wells people to find out. I've sent an email to the company who did Circle Wells app that
Yeah,
I really like. The one you gave me, that you had showed me.
yeah. They may not specialize in schools.
No,
so-
but then we have had a guy who's spoken to our administrators a couple times. So it's still on the radar.
Justin, who did you say?
It's Kim Miller Smith. I'll just email you her contact info. I had sent her your email address and said to add you to the list. So, but
Thank you. Building principals, Mrs. Cochran.
Sure. Okay, so at the middle school, we got a lot of things going on right now. We just announced January 8th of the month. So for 6th grade, it was Jenny Lee and Logan Blanchard. 7th grade, Olivia Gall and Braylon Hinton. 8th grade was Brooklyn Hesse and Keaton Plank. And then our January staff member of the month was Mrs. Evans. So the students will get to participate in a pizza party here next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. So pizza, ice cream at lunch. So that's a fun experience for them. Winter athletics, our girls basketball teams both kicked off their tournament play tonight. 7th grade girls were at Liberty Union. I put a text out there, I haven't heard back, so I don't have any updates yet. But they played at 6 tonight. And then our 8th grade girls played at home, and they just finished. And I believe, let me just double check real quick. They won 36-34, so it was quite a thriller. So they move on to the semifinals on Saturday. So our boys basketball teams open up tournament play on Saturday. Our 7th graders are at Liberty Union, and then our 8th grade boys are at Logan Elm. And then middle school wrestling will also take place on Saturday. I believe they're at Tees Valley, I can't remember if it's east or west. Tees Valley, east or west. And then we had a student that recently participated, well, she traveled to Phoenix, Arizona a couple weekends ago and participated in the USA Gymnastics Invitational. So Mackenzie Williams, and she earned 1st place on the beam, 2nd place on the floor, and 1st all around. That's pretty amazing that she got to have that experience, and she was very successful there. Interims were posted to Progress Book last Friday, so parents can view grades at any point that interims were uploaded. Our 7th grade students, yesterday and today, they participated in the Signs of Suicide presentation, so that did officially wrap up today. The second quarter incentive trip has been rescheduled to this Friday, so our students will be about 100, I think it's 144, so 145 students are participating in the second quarter incentive trip, so we will be heading to Cinemark, which they're excited to get their snack packs and to watch the movie. Next week, the Hope Squad will be hosting a Hope Week, and this event is hosted by the Hope Squad to bring awareness to mental health. There are different themes for each day, and it's just a way to promote positivity among the student body. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up on Tuesday, February 22nd from 11:30 a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. I posted sign-ups in the weekly announcements that were texted to parents, and they're also posted on the middle school website, so I encourage parents to pick a time slot, and they have 3 options to meet with teachers. They can meet in person, by phone, or through Google Meet. Next week in the weekly announcements, parents will be able to see information about the algebra prognosis test. So current 6th grade students have the opportunity to participate in this test, and essentially, based on their score, they can be placed in the advanced math track and take pre-algebra as a 7th grade student and then move to 8th grade algebra. So that test will take place on Monday, March 14th. However, more information will come out next week to start the sign-up process. And finally, the third quarter, believe it or not, will be coming to a close on Friday, March 11th. So not far off. And then grade cards will be distributed the following Friday on the 18th.
Thank you. Ms. Pringle.
Nice. All right, so the primary teacher of the month is Kaylee Marsh. She's one of our preschool teachers, so helping our youngest ACEs. If I could define her, if you pulled out your Webster dictionary and looked up teamwork, you would see her picture right there. It does not matter. She is a utility kind of teacher. If you need something, she's always the first to say, yes, I can jump in. When we've been low on staff and preschool's out there, she's always willing to jump in and be a team player. So she is amazing. I'm happy to have her over there. Support staff of the month is Jody Johnson. She's part of our primary nutrition team. And make sure that our kids are eating nutritious meals every day to help them focus. One thing I love is she doesn't just feed them, but she loves them. As they're walking through, she has that relationship with them. She knows their name, their rapport. You know, Johnny, you don't need 2 ice cream sandwiches. You know, you can only get 1 today, or whatever it is. She's got those connections, and the kids love it. So it's always exciting to see. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up, as Mrs. Cochran said, on the 22nd. We will also be doing kindergarten registration with that, our first round. So if you know any little people that look like they're ready to be heading to our building, send them our way. The sooner we get them registered, the better, the more we can plan for next year and what we need to have in place. Math and Science Night is coming up for K through 5. It is on the 23rd, 5 to 7 p.m. The theme is Candyland. So if you can imagine, there's going to be a lot of good sweets and fun experiments to be had by all. So one thing we're really working on is sharing data so that everybody knows kind of what's going on with our primary students. Our pre-K teachers, what they shared with their parents this year or this month was that 37 out of 58 of their preschoolers are able to write their first name independently, which is huge. I mean, that's a great number. So having our preschoolers here and starting out young is always the way to go. As far as our kindergarten goes, we have had 93 out of 109 students that have chickaboomed, which means they know all their uppercase, lowercase, and their sounds, which is phenomenal. So they are working super hard. When it comes to our first graders, currently we have 51 out of 104 first graders that are at the expected DRA level at level 8. So that's about 49%. So it's not exactly where we'd like to see it, but we continue working. One thing to really take note of is when you start getting at that level 8 and above, comprehension starts playing a huge role on whether students are advancing or they're not. So that's one way families can help their kiddos when they're reading, asking questions about what's happening in the story. Are they understanding what actually is taking place? And then last but not least, our second grade students are over there working hard. Currently, we have 54% of our second graders that are on track for reading. And 42% of them are on track with their STAR test. So as we look at, we're over halfway through the year, so we are pushing constantly, trying to make sure our kids are getting a quality education, helping them grow every single day. I always tell the teachers, don't focus maybe where the state tells you a second grader can be. Look at where they came in and where we're taking them to. Because if not, we can get really defeated. Okay, they're supposed to be here. They came in here. What kind of gains are we making? So my highlight today, I want to highlight our maintenance team. I'm not sure if anybody's seen the parking lots, but they are looking phenomenal. And I know they have been working hardcore on them, making sure it's safe. Because one of the important things is that we get our kids here. A lot of schools were out a couple days this week because they weren't able to clear sidewalks and streets and things like that. But our team kind of jumped in and took care of it, and we appreciate it. So, thank you.
Mr. Hinton.
Our January staff member of the month was Mr. Tracy Sharp. Our ACT testing is March 1st. I think the liaisons took care of that, but we'll be excited for our juniors and the few seniors who couldn't take it last year because we were remote last year when we offered the ACT. So we were able to offer those seniors an opportunity to take it here. The Hope Week, next week is our Spirit Week. On Thursday afternoon, there's a pep rally in which several of the Hope Squad members, several teachers, and myself, this week we're selling raffle tickets. We will get pied in the face. So that is a fundraiser we are doing.
Working with
Lunch over here.
Everybody want to pitch in 20 bucks?
So we will be doing that next week. End of the third night weeks is March 11th, like Mrs. Cochran said. So at that point, we really kicked off a lot of seniors. We just sent seniors an update with some upcoming events. And so kind of for everybody's planning here at the end. Senior movie is March 16th. They're seeing the new Batman movie. Right after the end of the third 9 weeks, we'll announce valedictorian, salutatorian. And then we get to the end, May 12th is the Top Golf trip. We're not going to Kings Island or Cedar Point. The seniors voted to go to Top Golf. That's going to be a lot of fun. May 18th is Senior Fun Day and Senior Awards that evening. May 19th is Career Center graduations, and then the 20th is our graduation. So, we're excited about it's coming. We had conversations with several seniors this week that, we're interims for the third 9 weeks just came out. We're getting there. So, some seniors got more stern conversations than others. So it's one thing we're going to do this year. We talked a little about master schedule, and one thing we're trying to, with adding these courses, just so you know, in terms of schedule, we're going to send out what we're calling a class intent form. So it helps us understand how many students may request these new AP courses that we're going to have, or our advanced courses. And then prior to sending out the scheduling form, so we have somewhat of an idea more accurately of how many periods, for example, of advanced English we need at a certain grade level. So we can more accurately tell students. It's always an issue when we have students request to take advanced English third period, but there's only 3 other kids that sign up, and we have to eliminate that period and move those students. And it kind of can throw a student's class schedule off. So we're trying to do an intent form. So that's going to be released kind of next week, kind of get an idea of what our kids want so we can build the and finish the master schedule. And I want to give a shout out to our staff and students. Speaking to several staff members, we had our first remote learning day of this school year on Friday. And according to our staff, our students did very, very well in completing their work. So shout out the staff and students of their efforts on Friday for the remote learning day. It sounds like it was a successful day by everybody. So unfortunately, we've had a lot of practice in remote learning from last year and things, but sounds like first time this year, we were able to do it very, very well. So kudos to them.
Thank you. Mr. Ross.
January Teacher of the Month is Jennifer Blosser. On the same notes with Mr. Hinton about remote learning, lots of parents had commented how well Jennifer did her remote learning, so kudos to Mrs. Blosser. Kingston Savers Club will be at lunch on February 15th for our Savers in the building. Again, parent-teacher conferences on the 22nd. That is also the PTO Chipotle night on Memorial Drive. Go out and support them. The PTO has donated lots of things back to us for our incentives for our students. Math and Science Night is again February 23rd, 5 to 7. This year we've also included some food trucks. So we've got confirmed so far DQ, Rock and Rolls, and Taquitos will be here at around 4 o'clock setting up. and they should be ready to serve food at 4:45, and they will be here through the entire event, so people can go in and out of that. Please take a look at the elementary website. We've gone through it, cleaned it up. I was amazed at how outdated some of the things were on there. When you really dig through the website, I found my name back in 4th grade, so that's all cleaned up. February, we're going to wrap up with Right to Read Week, starting February 28th through March 4th. We've got lots of activities planned. Our theme is going to be pirates, so you're going to see pirate-themed things throughout the week. Info Ohio had a conference call with them this week. They've paired up with Capstone Interactive eBooks. Students and parents can access online library through infoohio.org. All they got to do is go to infoohio.org, click grades K-5, Capstone Interactive, and then you can go through there and pick AR books based off of their AR levels. These books can also be read to students if need be. So it's a really cool resource to get literature into the hands of students some more. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you all as always. We always appreciate the updates and the information, so it's good to hear. And I would just say, I guess I didn't say anything up earlier when we approved the 3-year contract for Mr. Hinton, but certainly appreciate all the work that you do and well deserved and grew on that. So thank you. All right, new business. First item, approved resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Fairfield County Budget Commission with the Fairfield County Auditor, which was attachment we received by email.
No, did not receive that.
Okay.
I haven't received it. So Mr. Dick and I met with the tax commission or the budget commission on Monday. So the tax budget that we approved in January, that was presented to the commission and they asked questions. And normally we would have back the actual rates, amounts and rates. They give us a form with a resolution and stuff on it. We have not received that yet. I emailed it today and I still didn't hear back from them. They do have a new auditor. So I think they're a little slower. So we'll have that next month. So table, please.
That was good. Second item, approved category 1 E-rate funding, category 1 and category 2, which is attachments 5 and 6 in our agenda. Is there a motion? Okay, is there a second? Seconds, discussion.
Do you want to speak to the E-rate?
So E-rate stands for education rate, and it is a discount that we receive basically from the FCC for broadband services. But we also receive discounts on hardware and some other technology items. So as you can imagine, it's a federal program and it is quite extensive in application process, et cetera. These two contracts that are on there are basically for a consultant to make sure that we are compliant with everything to fill out, to make sure that we're getting that funding. It is pretty significant funding, so we definitely would want to do it, and this is just a renewal. And because, and it's not even, the contracts are not a tremendous amount of money, but because it's a multi-year contract, it must come before the board for approval. I think they're $1,500 each maybe, or something like that. But because they're multi-year, Mr. Dick and I don't have authority to sign them without board approval. So that's what they are, and they are renewals.
Just to add a little bit, Mr. Downer, our technology coordinator, supervisor, works closely with Mr. Fairchild in regards to the E-rate, make sure we're getting everything we can. When it gets to me, I forward to him. So he does a lot of the E-rate back history, backstory.
So this is to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck and we get all the federal funding that we're entitled to.
That we can get. It's also a compliance piece because, for example, if you're an E-rate funded school, there are videos that have to be presented to every single student that has a device, well, every single student period. things like that. So it's making sure that we're crossing all those Ts and dotting those Is so we don't get in trouble and then we don't get our funding the way we should. That's just one example of the, I don't want to say hoops that we have to jump through, but there's quite a bit because the FCC is certainly a sophisticated organization. But it's only for schools, and so it's a discount. We receive it through Meta. A lot of the discounts we receive through Meta, because Meta is our provider, which is where we get our broadband and stuff. So.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes. Item 3, approve additional unpaid leave for Sarah Olson, making her return date March 14, 2022. Is there a motion?
Sure.
Robin moves. Is there a second? Second. Discussion? And roll call.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes. Item 4, approve staff leave without pay. Ashley Mount, 2 full days. Angel Springer, 4 full days. Trisha Dwyer, 5 full days. Misty Conkle, 1 full day. Heather Spafford, 2 full days. Bailey Berry Leroy, 1 full day. And Amy Fairfield, 1 full day. Is there a motion?
I move.
Justin moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Misty seconds. Discussion? And roll call.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes. Item 5, appoint Atlanta Fairchild Treasurer as the public records designee. Is there a motion? Is there a second? 50 seconds, discussion.
This is so I can do the public records training for the district, so the new board members that were newly elected. Each time you're elected, you're to do public records training, and you can designate somebody else to do it for you, so you don't have to sit through it.
Yeah, so if anybody really wants to sit through it.
Absolutely, I'm okay with that.
I'm sure she wouldn't argue, but yes, that's what that is.
So in years that we wouldn't have newly elected members, we wouldn't have to have this on, so you won't see it like every year.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. Pinkstock?
Yes.
Mrs. Psalm?
Yes.
Mr. Rainier?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
Yes. On to discussion items. The first thing, 2022, 23, and 23, 24 calendars, attachments 7, 8, 9, and 10.
I just want to bring some things that we've changed in this calendar compared to the ones we've had in the past. The past 3 or 4 years, we have participated in the All-County PD Day, which is a Monday and last Monday in September. As we talked about with the bridges and things like that, we thought it would be better to put some of our PD days at the beginning of the school year before we even start, so our teachers can get updated on everything they need to be updated on. If there's anything that we, like the foundations we talked about, there's trainings that's going to take place. We need to do it before school starts. Now, obviously, it'd be great to do it in the middle of July, but when you don't have teachers at your disposal, it's very difficult to do. So, unless you pay. Other things that's the basic difference is the fact that we're front loading a lot of PD before the school year starts.
So you're not doing the PD day then in September, the all-county
No,
day?
we are not.
And the teachers and all that were happy with that?
Well-
They like that.
Yeah, but
The trade-off is okay.
there's been some things that people talk about it's run its course.
Gotcha.
And we as county superintendents have talked about doing away with it for a couple of years or a year or so. There's still some schools that are going to participate in it this year, but I think maybe next year they may be ready for it, or we may be ready to go back to it. But right now, it's for our best case scenario is for us to get it front loaded the best we can.
That's the main change in all 4 of them.
Yep. And we will, and it shows you in June of 23 where the dead period starts. So Yes, yeah. It'll be reflected.
Mr. Rick, on the second one, you need to change, oh no, wait, that's option 2.
Yes.
What's the difference in option 1 or 2?
Which page are you on? Number,
Well, you have attachment number, it's attachment number 8.
okay.
It says it's option 2 for the 22-23 school year. Tell me what that difference is, I don't have the date. Thanks.
All I've done is change the August, August 8th, we would have the new staff here. In 22, we do not have the new staff. And the option 1, that's all the change. We're starting school on a Monday as opposed to having a PD on Monday.
So when would your PD be then, or you just wouldn't have it?
Yes, it's, let me see. Where it shows up.
It's like Thursday and Friday as opposed
Yes,
to.
it's on Thursday, Friday, as opposed to Friday, Monday.
Everything just shifts to the left
Yes.
one day, so.
What do your staff, do they have a preference?
Well, I will present to them, I will present it to ASA and the
Oh, okay.
Teamsters and the
Okay.
classified staff tomorrow. Let them, again, and I don't want this to be taken wrong, they can have input, they can discuss it, and they know that ultimately the contract reads that we make that decision. And I'm always willing to listen, they've got better ideas that would help us be more efficient, better than I'm willing to listen, so.
I was just curious
Sure.
if they
Okay.
had had input.
Not yet.
Option 2 is the preferred.
Yes, yeah.
Which one's the preferred?
Option 2,
Oh, where they start.
school, no, I would think that, I think option 1 is the one that we've talked about before, because,
Okay.
there's just a little bit
Makes
of,
more sense.
not a lot of people like starting school with a full 5-day week. And,
That's a lot.
so the
It's a
teacher
lot.
would be in session 5 days, but our kids would not be.
Can you make it any smaller font?
Well, Cheryl usually puts it on a 9.5 by 11, so she tried to get it so it could fit, so I will, 9 by 14, I think, so.
That's right, I'm just pleased I can still read it.
If you put it on your computer.
I did, that's what I had to.
I did, I was on the
computer.
All right, any other discussion with the calendar stuff? If not, the second item there is the K2 chiller, attachment 11.
Well, as we've talked about some of our aging components within the facility, the chiller at the K2 has been one that's been discussed at length during our project controls meeting, our control project meeting. There's been concerns with the chiller at the K2 since I got back in 17. Now, the reason that we've not paid much attention to it is because we had chiller 2 here at the 312 that needed to be replaced and wasn't replaced. So it was more in need. So I know when we talked last week about the boilers, and it's unfortunate, there's a lot of things that's happening with the building right now that are expensive. But it's not something that we didn't think about. I mean, we knew that these things were coming. Obviously, if you read the letter, they talk about having lead time to get it here, get it installed, because there's obviously the concern of when it goes down. If it goes down in July, August. July will survive it. August, Mrs. Pinkstock and Mrs. Young and I were talking. Our kids have no idea what the old buildings were like, but if we have to go to school in July without August without air conditioner, Katie boards the door. So, we are trying to be proactive. We talked at length. South Central Power has talked to us. We've talked to them. Obviously, Verigy, the company who gave us the quote. We've had obviously the elevator man at the table. All these people have concerns about this chiller it does not have the ability to have a valve put on the front of it that lowers, so it doesn't have surges. So if you're up there, when you hear it kick on, just take your air conditioner home, multiply by like 400, And when it kicks on, you hear it, it bangs, and, there are times you'll see lights dim. So there's issues, and no one can, like I said, we've had several people look at it, and it's not able to be any reason why it's happening. So they're concerned about the efficiency. Obviously, it's a 18-year-old machine. So, no, it's, of course, 16-year-old.
Still.
It's not very old. Because, well, they will tell you 25 to 30, but if there's been issues with it from the beginning, there's a chance that it's not efficient as it should be. So, and again, your air conditioner at home 18 years, 16 years, probably.
That's a good look.
Yeah,
That's a good look.
yeah, you'll be looking soon. So,
Can Verigy, guarantee that the replacement won't have the same issue?
absolutely. I asked that exact question, Mr. Lanier. It's some kind of screw techniques that does not allow it to have the surges that we are experiencing now. It has everything on it that we thought we would try to add when we got in. And South Central Power told us that it could not be done. General Temperature Control told us it could not be done, and then Verigy told us. So once that all took place, at that point in time, Ms. Fairchild and I talked about it may be time to going through the meta process. This is the lowest bid. So
Did they give a timeline at all on when they could deliver?
he said, what, 12 to 16 weeks out.
Oh, that's not
So,
hateful.
no.
I mean,
But if it's the full 12 weeks, you're into June.
right.
So now, I obviously it's good or bad, but when you think about where we are in our component world of the big ticket items, 2 chillers, 2 boilers within a matter of like 18 months. So that puts us in a pretty good place with the chiller that's the oldest chiller back in the back now has the least amount of hours on it of the 2 that's left. So we're in pretty good shape with the big ticket items.
Does this have to be installed in school out of session?
No, they can, they'll obviously have to work in between hours of bus loading, unloading, but a lot of things they can disconnect, lift, get out.
So I wanted to bring up, and I put my notes on it, that I wanted to bring up that we have, as you noticed from the cash reconciliation, and whatever, the $1.1 million sitting in the escrow account. The question came up, I think Robin, you had asked this at the last meeting. Can we use that money to pay for the HVAC upgrades we're doing right now that have been approved, the $150,000 of the hot water boilers? And the answer is yes, we can. We can also fund this with those monies, so we are not touching any of our general fund monies or any of our permanent improvement monies, because that money, needs to be spent, or we're gonna leave it there for 3 years and then turn around and just give it right back. So,
The last chiller we did, wasn't it like 240, 249?
Yes, 255, I believe that'd be.
Okay. And we should
And
have
I'm
bought
not trying to,
for the price of one.
it is, if you remember, we approved the chiller in April of 20,
Right before COVID.
yes. So that leads to all these price increases, and that was explained to us, but you're exactly right. In a matter of about 18 months, I'm not sure if the chillers are
We tacked
ton wise or not, but it's a $45,000, $50,000 increase, so.
Yeah. So to that point, yes, that's what I recall from those discussions were there are 2 chillers here.
Mhm.
There's one up there. So
Yes.
that one's a larger tonnage. So that one obviously is more expensive.
Gotcha.
And then there was January 1, a 10% increase in just the equipment from the supplier. So, which is not horrible,
10%.
but when you've got those big numbers, I mean,
At
10%
those high
of
dollar-
$2
at those high
isn't
dollar
so much.
values, yeah.
At those high dollar
$250,000
values, that's a
Well,
lot.
and the Davis Bacon wage rate has gone up probably 3 or 4 times since then as well. So it doesn't break out the installation in here, but, everything has gone up a lot.
Yeah, so, yeah, because I did ask that specific question, like, well, what's the increase over, what's the exact increase over? When we were talking about it in the fall, when we were trying to figure out what exactly we wanted to do, and they said 10% was the equipment alone.
So are you guys asking us to approve this? I see where Mr. Saxon's saying, do you want to proceed with the contract?
I will bring it back in March.
This is just to have a look-see and then.
I did ask about how long the price was good for. They told us it would be good for 60 days. So I just want to make sure everybody had time to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Have questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Appreciate that. To not be-
Right.
All right, any other discussion with that then? Otherwise, the third item there is open enrollment policy change.
At the beginning of the school year, there were some who asked me about the difficulty of the open enrollment process. And I try to be kind. The difficulty becomes when people do not turn in paperwork in a timely manner according to our deadlines. That's when it becomes difficult when we tell them no. My office was that's the reason for it being difficult. So what I'm trying to do here is streamline this so that we give parents a longer period of time to apply and a shorter period of time for me to respond. And within a matter of 10 days, we're going to know in July whether they'll be approved or not. So now again, there's always going to be a caboose and an engine. And no matter what we change that deadline date to, there will be someone who will say, I didn't know. So again, we will start communicating this to our e-newsletter, our newsletters, our webpage. We will TEC it out, whatever, so that once we approve this, I will start making sure we advertise as much as possible so that they realize they have until July this year to get it turned into.
Just curious, Mr. Dick, do we ever allow students to open enroll after the deadline? Like, say something's not going well at their school or whatever, and they want to change mid-year or something. Do we do that, or is this a hard and fast? Do they ever do that?
Well,
I'm just curious.
No, what we try to do is if you were enrolled here and you had to move or got evicted or whatever the case may be, we would work with you in order to keep you open enrolled for at least the remainder of the year. We normally do not. I hate saying no. I don't remember ever taking someone who just shows up in November and says, I'm open enrolled, because again, our class lists have been created, and I was just asking. No, and I think it's important that we try to remain consistent with that, because obviously you don't know who knows somebody that you give this person this opportunity and that person you didn't. So when it comes to just open enrollment in the middle of the year, if they're not native to us, then I do.
Just in looking over it, I know, like, you've moved the dates back, and I get that because our parents aren't thinking about it early on. But on the renewal, they have to renew. We were April 10th, and you moved it back to July the 10th. Does that put us in a bind on the renewals? Could we ask for those earlier just to make it easier for us, or does it really not matter?
It really doesn't matter, because I honestly,
Because most of them renew.
when we have, I don't know, if we have 50 applicants, I mean, it doesn't take me very long to go through it, and
Okay.
so we're fine.
Okay.
Are these electronic or is it paper?
Paper, which we need to think about moving towards that.
Yeah.
Because it would help things much easier to do.
Well, I was thinking it could be helpful for you.
Yes.
I mean, the parents as well,
Sure.
but.
Right.
Mr. Vick, we have software that we can do that for,
Okay.
and to place on our website that would give you that ability, so you would need to invest anything to do that if you wanted to.
Is that through that for next?
No, that would be through SCView. They have an open portal, like if you click on a form, you don't need a login or anything, you just go straight to the form and start filling it out. So, like you do your requisitions, it would show up in the workflow like that. But then you could just click on it.
Any other discussion? That's the end of our discussion items. If nobody else has any discussion items, then we would, I would entertain a motion to approve and moving into executive session for the purpose of considering the employment of a public employee. Mr. Moves, seconds? Seconds, discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Kingston?
Yes.
Mrs. Young? Yes. Mr. Renier?
Yes.
Mrs. Song? Mr. Sharp?
Yes.
I put this at your